the United States should continue supplying weapons because that's the only thing that will put pressure on Vladimir Putin.
I ended there. You guys see how the only job of these people is to sell weapons? Who funds more than Joe?
Chris Murphy. Chris Murphy's a weapons guy.
Exactly, Sarah. So their job. What is the solution to this complex geopolitical problem? Sell more weapons. That's the solution to everything. We have this complex issue between Israel and Gaza. What should we do? Sell weapons to Israel.
Yep, more
Send
weapons
to Taiwan. So we respect the one China policy, which is the foundation of diplomacy between the United States and China. No, send Taiwan weapons. Our job is to sell weapons. We are weapon salesmen manufacturing as statesmen. Like Joe Scarborough is a weapon salesman. I sell cars. I know a salesman when I see it. Mm-hmm. The same way I would sell a fucking Honda. That's what Joe Scarborough is doing, selling weapons. So this is the big topic of the day, and I want to give your thoughts on this because I already gave my opinion on what I expected from this meeting. Sarah, before we get into it, I got a lot to share. I want to get your thoughts on what your mindset was leading up to this. Like, do you think this will lead it to anything? Do you think Trump is pursuing peace in good faith? I have my theory. I'm curious on what you think before we actually dive in here. This video right here, this is the moment that will be played for a very long time. Ukrainians are in shambles. The pro-war corporate liberal media, they're in absolute shambles. We see how we doing with time because I still want to play the press conference. But I want to show you guys how the liberal media has been completely melting down at the concept of peace. But Sarah, what's your thoughts before we move on?
I didn't think that it would amount to much. The two parties are way too far apart in what they want for Ukraine. What I thought would happen, and I might be right, what I thought would happen would be there was some thawing of maybe the economic and sort of diplomatic freeze on the two, maybe establishing their embassies again. These two are very far apart diplomatically. There's not even any direct flights. That's a huge barrier. That's one of the first steps Russia wants towards the normalization. So, we'll see what happens, but I think it'll be baby steps. It's a very slow process.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting how Donald Trump was punishing India with tariffs because the Trump administration said that India was fueling the Russian war machine, and they was like, how dare you get close to Russia, a criminal rogue state? And then they immediately turn around and they try to get close to Russia because the messaging that coming from Trump people is that this is more than just about the Ukraine war. We want to have and we want to expand economic ties potentially with Russia. And this is what leading to a large amount of the freak out, not only just the peace talks, but the idea that he brought his economic team, Putin brought his economic team. So how are you going to punish India for doing what you're attempting to do right now? I just thought that was funny. Another thing I want to mention, because obviously we're going to get to the press conference and the substance and the Western reaction to seeing Putin here and the way that they treated the Russian journalists. So we will get to all that here very soon. But what I found interesting was the liberal reaction to peace talks. You have, and obviously these are like coordinated by Democrats groups. But what did they say about Democrat values? That they are not like protesting against the genocide in Gaza right now. They're not protesting the fact that Israel murdered the entirety of Al Jazeera journalist corps. They're not protesting genocide. They are protesting the concept of ending peace. Look, here it is.
I'm assuming that
These are people. I got the audio not too important. I'll turn it down. This is what happens when you have an entire generation of MSNBC watching boomers who are radicalized by nonstop pro-war content. People like to talk about the propaganda of other countries, but what do you guys think is the long-term effect of nonstop Rachel Maddow, pro-war propaganda, 1 hour every day booming into your mind? This is what you get. Terrible. He had reaction to this. I thought this was funny.
I think the RT journalists traced that stuff back to Soros, like literally, like right back to the NGOs almost immediately.
Yeah, that I saw that as well. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Mm-hmm.
But what did it say that this is the messaging that the Democratic Party is presenting? And it works because even if this, I don't even like using that excuse because let's say it is Soros funded, they're still able to get shit lists to show up. Like this is what they are part of this party. And when people talk about how they have plans to hijack the Democratic Party and shift it left, they forget that many liberal voters are okay with this. They want neoliberalism. So whenever they see like a progressive candidate or any candidate telling the truth about Israel, they can't stand him. So you have a problem among the Democratic Party base, the same way you have in the neocon party base. This is anti-Russian stickers that can be seen in Alaska. Yeah, shit loves Soros events. You're not even allowed to say his name. That's an anti-Semitic trope, apparently.
Exactly. Yeah. Even attributing the protests to Soros, which he paid for, is anti-Semitic. You
guys know AOC wanted to attend this. they told AOC and Bernie Sanders, "You're not allowed to don't talk about Ukraine."
Yeah, no. Like, what are they thinking? Like, what are these people thinking? They're so bad at this. They're just so bad.
I've seen clips of like Max Blumenthal. There need to be more of those. I wish I didn't live in the middle of nowhere and had more resources. Because I remember I saw Max Blumenthal when he questioned Jamal Bowman. And he didn't know what the Donbass was.
Right.
There's clips of our friend Kit Clarenberg questioning these people. There are people questioning like average Democrat voters who attend these protests. They have no idea what they're even protesting. Like you want to start World War III because you don't want Ukraine to be a neutral buffer state. Right. You have the Bernie Sanders left who want to defend the sanctity of a democracy that doesn't allow the right for collective bargaining. Socialists defending a Nazi fascist state. We have seen it all. But I talked about this earlier before. This is the receipts. And you can speak a lot on this about how like independent media is treated in the United States. Look, Russian journalists arriving in Alaska are housed in the Alaska Airline Centers, converted into temporary accommodation centers. So this temporary accommodation center, they pretty much got these little fucking huts.
Yeah,
it was giving like crackers for breakfast. It's like, Sarah, you want to explain what was going on when Russian reporters?
This is basically like when they did it with Katrina. It's better than Katrina, but they just kind of put partitions up inside of a very large like open bay, and then that's it. Like you're like left there to just kind of fend for yourselves. These are cots, like. They're not even cots with like mattresses. They're like literally army cots. Like this is crazy.
Yeah.
And and the whole time, they're Red Cross cots. Look at that. And the whole time, like Americans are saying like you people, they don't even have toilets. I'm like, have you ever been to a journalist event in Moscow or in Russia at all? Like, I was like, they put you up in a hotel. Like, what is this? Like, it's wild. And because it was so flagrant, I think they did it on purpose.
Yeah. I think it's because the Washington D.C. establishment probably just hates that. Like they got this anti-Russia phobia so strongly. The idea that they would even prepare anything for them. Mm-hmm. It is so how bad faith they are.
I know. And I don't know if it was lack of preparation, because I know from working for the government and being in the military that often happens, or if it was just a blatant like insult. Like that's what they wanted it. Like that's what they wanted it to be perceived as.
Bro, the entirety of this week have been the Washington press corps absolutely fucking fuming. And I'm showing you guys just a few reactions of the neocon, pro-Banderite, Russia derangement syndrome liberals in the West. And they are upset that this summit is even happening. They are saying that this is a giant win for Putin, how Russia is isolated on a global stage, and this is the win that Vladimir Putin needs to make Russia seem like a legitimate country. Sarah, you're muted.
Trump is the one that's going to bring Putin back into the fold of the international community that has isolated him. It's so funny. Like, why would Trump be being friends with Putin be doing him any favors? Trump's a pariah right now. What are you talking about? It's not the other way around. This is doing Trump a favor.
You guys realize that, and they keep saying that this is a great win for Russia and Putin because Russia is seeking to end their global isolation. Bro, Putin is supported by the global majority. You guys were just bitching and complaining about how India is fueling the Russian war machine and how Modi is too friendly with the Russian government. How many people in India are there, Sarah?
17 billion trillion.
So they got fucking billions of people in India who fucking love Russia. Then you have China, who also the Trump administration hates because they say that China is helping fuel the Russian war machine. So you have another fucking 3,000 billion right there. And then they say, oh, Russia is isolated because people, some fucking irrelevant states like France.
Right. Exactly.
These people who can't even run their government in a self-sustaining way without the help of the United States. People who are literally United States vassal states. People who've been completely deindustrialized like Germany. Complete jokes of the states are upheld as some of these states that everyone must love and must have approval of. I don't know how people fall for it. I guess that's Western chauvinism, American exceptionalism, white supremacy in a lot of ways, where they value the opinions of European countries more than the filthy Asian countries. That's the only thing that's the only way I can rationalize this kind of stuff working. A few more things I want to share before we get to the present day. You guys know when this fucking meeting happened, I had to see what my favorite neocons were saying and the meltdown. And there are hundreds of hours of neocon meltdowns on the corporate media, which I enjoy. I'm a fucking nerd. Whenever I see these neocons melting down about peace, that shit, you can inject that shit in my veins, bro. But let's watch the video because there's more important reasons other than to just laugh at these idiots. I'm gonna show you guys what one whole ass political party is saying. Like, it's not like I'm picking on people who are irrelevant. This is one whole ass political party. And this is an issue that the progressive left agrees with the neocon right on. So you're not seeing any like progressive pushback in the party by Bernie Sanders. Ro Khanna wants to arm Ukraine because he believes in the right of self-determination, but he don't believe in it for Hamas. We exposed down the RBN. But anyway, let me play a little bit of this clip. Sarah, do you have anything you want to add before I get to the clip?
No, go to the clips because the press conference is over already, so we could cover the whole thing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I had no idea how long the press conference was going to be.
They didn't take any questions.
All right, cool. We're going to play the press conference after I do this presentation, because I want to see what they said.
Yeah.
It literally just happened, so it'll be a live reaction from. I think it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I watched like maybe the first minute or two before it went live. So the order of this I have, I'm going to show you guys the reaction of the Ukrainian banderites who want war. The pro-neocon Ukrainians, they're fucking melting down. I wish I had enough time to show you guys the segments I see today. There's one segment I don't have time to show you guys, but it's one on MSNBC where it was like, Ukrainians are in dismay. Like the images of them seeing Trump and Putin is going to traumatize the Ukrainian generation forever. Like, bro, I wish I could nerd out with you guys with all these segments, but we don't have a lot of time, so I had to pick out some of my favorites. That's why I picked more than a joke. I was like, man, if I'm going to show you guys one, it has to be my favorite neocon network. So here's their freak out. And also I'll show you guys this one because they brought on some fucking Democrat neocon to explain their party's position on this, which is batshit crazy.
Let's get more on this. Joining us now is Democratic member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut. Senator, thank you very much for joining us. I was interested to see what you put out on Twitter X on this, that there is no scenario tomorrow in which Putin doesn't become stronger and America becomes weaker.
You guys see the framing? Like what does it say about your politics when simple peace talks always go against your side? You can't negotiate with Hamas because it benefit Hamas. You can't benefit with Xi Jinping or Taiwan because that would benefit China. You guys see this psychotic behavior? But Sarah, do you want to? I thought you were trying to.
No, you're cook and go. I love this psychopathy of constantly being like, oh, anytime we engage in peace talks, we're going to be on the losing side. Like, peace is losing now.
And people feel like I have to apologize. I hate when people on the left feel like they have to apologize for wanting the United States to seek friendly relationships with Russia. And I think that's like the biggest one of the biggest changes in my mentality over the last few years. And this is why people view me as like a Russian puppet. This is why I'm banned and blacklisted from U.S. corporate media, because they view me as some sort of Russia lover. I will never in a million years apologize for the fact that I want the United States and Russia to seek cooperation and have a friendship the likes we've never seen before. I want China and the United States to have a friendly relationship so we can uplift the entirety of the global working class. This is what we are fighting for. We are the true patriots. That is what a true patriot will want. Your country to have friendly relationship with a massive superpower for the benefit of humanity. The people who want to sink the global working class and the people who have this toxic view of patriotism, which I did 1,000 rants about, but the toxic view of patriotism, that you're a fucking patriot because you got a fucking flag fetish and you cheerlead for all our illegal wars. You don't give a fuck about the homeless population. You don't give a fuck that there's a medical debt booming crisis going on right now. You don't give a fuck that there's a rise of deaths of despair, drug overdoses, because people are having mental breakdowns. You don't give a fuck about the status of the working class at all.
None.
You think you're a patriot because you got a flag on your fucking front lawn, because you cheer for the United States when they were torturing Iraqis, because you want the United States to murder off, and that's the majority of mainstream America. And both parties, they think they're a patriot because they cheer on never-ending war. They think they're a patriot because they want the United States to dominate Russia. I don't want the United States to dominate anybody. I want the United States and the United States working class to work in a cooperative way with people, even those we disagree with, for the betterment of all. How is that the radical position? But I consider it an extremist in the West, right? Anyway, let's get more to this clip. You guys only took like one sentence to trigger me.
Yeah.
But that's the quality of Morning Joe propaganda. I'll tell you, I think Morning Joe is the most quality propaganda. When you wonder why liberals, like, I think Richard Maddow was the liberal propaganda go. But Morning Joe is where you go if you want to listen to the voice of the state. Like, they are the state. It's like state TV in the most purest form. So let's get triggered a little bit more. Let's play this clip.
Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut. Senator, thank you very much for joining us. I was interested to see what you put out on Twitter X on this, that there is no scenario tomorrow in which Putin doesn't become stronger and America becomes weaker. It's a pre-made disaster. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, the first thing that's happening here is the welcoming of Putin back into the order of major mainstream nations. He is
once again the absolute delusion. BRICS countries have a higher GDP than the G7. The plan that Joe Biden had to isolate Russia and weaken Russia was one of the greatest foreign policy blunders of the modern era. They brought China and Russia closer together. They brought India closer to Russia. They increased the viability of BRICS because more countries wanted to join BRICS because they saw the United States weaponize the financial system against Russia, which backfired in a massive way, which led to Russia having more global clout since the age of the Soviet Union. But according to the analysis of a standard Democratic neocon, oh, come on, man, we can't have peace talk with Russia because we were doing a good job already of isolating Putin. You guys see why I would snatch these motherfuckers' master's degrees? Like, this is the professional managerial class, Sarah, and we will run circles around them. You do it all the time. I see you be.
Why do you think
you're someone alive at the space today?
At the airport? Why do you think we're getting stopped at the airport and banned from social media platforms? Because we're smarter than these retards.
I used to think that they had some sort of it was wild when I realized that these people are not that smart.
That's me too. I was like, that's the whole time you're like, I gotta be the crazy one. I gotta be stupid. And then you realize like the curtain falls and you're like, oh my God. Oh dear. Like you're just like, these people are leading the masses and they're like not even functioning like a pumpkin.
Like it's very like revealing when you realize that they had to kill Malcolm X. You know what I mean? They had to kill these people because they're not that smart. Their worldview is not coherent. Like I've explained this many times before. Like when you're younger, you have like a more grandiose respect for authority, whether you acknowledge it or not. So when I'm a teenager, even though I thought I hated all these news people, I thought they at least knew shit. Like I was like, oh, look at this news person. He actually knows a lot about history. He probably have a coherent ideology. This is what I thought. Like this is what I thought these people were smart. Then I actually dove into politics. You learn about stuff, and you realize that they have to rely on censorship. Like if they did it, they do.
They really do.
And the battle of ideas. That's go to my point. That's why they have to kill Malcolm X. They have to do that because they couldn't argue against his points. If you guys hear Malcolm X arguing against Zionism, of course they have to kill that guy. You know what I mean? That they have to censor us. They have to detain Sarah. They have to engage in might makes right because they are deeply intellectually fraudulent. But there anything else you want to add? I'll play more. We on 30 seconds.
You're in very good form tonight. Keep going.
Nah, you always bring it. Always great to have you on, Sarah. You always great to have you on. Let's play a little more. Let's see how far we can actually get.
We've gotten 25 seconds in.
I don't really apologize for it anymore because I know you guys don't really care to listen to these motherfuckers. I use these videos only as a way, as a way for me to teach them. Give me a something to rant off of. I know you guys really give a fuck what this asshole really have to say. But anyway, but let's continue, and then I'm gonna continue to debug the propaganda
a little bit more.
Well, the first thing that's happening here is the welcoming of Putin back into the order of major mainstream nations. He is visiting the United States for the first time since he became a war criminal. He is standing with the most powerful person in the world, and it is a sign from Donald Trump, essentially.
How many times has Bibi been here? How many times Bibi been here?
You beat me to it, my friend. That's the obvious point that should immediately go to your skull when you think of all this fucking fake meltdowns. There's a reporter. Remember, I know you probably seen the clip. I'm gonna get to the Putin-Trump media clash where some fucking shit-lit reporter who's gonna write a book about this one day. I bet you. She yelled at Putin. She's like, "Will you ever apologize? Will you ever commit to stop murdering civilians?" Like, sir and man, we just had Netanyahu here in the White House. We are literally sponsoring a genocide as a country, and you guys are. Well, come on, Putin. Why are you murdering so many civilians? It's brain rot. But let's continue. But feel free to interrupt anytime, Sarah. This is fun.
The world, and it is a sign from Donald Trump, essentially, that all is forgiven. And so this is a big moment for Putin because he essentially is being legitimized in the eyes of the United States and in the
delusional.
So the United States that now legitimizes foreign leaders.
And the thing is, you guys know this is what Ro Khanna believes too. Like this is no deviation among the Democratic class. Why do you guys think that none of the Bernie industrial complex? Like, do you guys see Hassan Piker? Do you guys see these people ever do complex breakdown?
Ro Khanna takes money from Palantir. Stop it. Ro Khanna gets money from Palantir. Let's all be serious.
Good point. Good point. Let's continue. Good point. But it's wild. There are people like, oh, don't you know Ro Khanna? He's a good guy. He go on independent media. Nah, man. Nah, bro. He signed on to the batshit crazy anti-communism resolution. Mm-hmm. Who introduced that again? I'm blanking here. Was it Lindsey Graham? It was anyway. Josh Hawley, some fucker, who put out some anti-communism resolution, and Ro Khanna signed on to it. And he went on RBN like, "Will you guys ever support us if we ran again?" I'm like, "The fuck you talking about? No." Anyway, let's continue.
Eyes of the world. We know there's not going to be any major peace deal here, largely because one of the parties to the war isn't at the table. You can't sign a peace agreement if Zelensky isn't there. And so there's not going
because Zelensky is irrelevant.
Literally.
If the United States decided not to support Ukraine, this war is over. And Zelensky is an illegitimate, unelected leader. Why should Russia or any coherent international system ever defer to him in this situation where he only wants to continue this war so he can maintain power? He said, and this is the exact moment where Russia was like, okay, this motherfucker got to go. Because at first, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, at first, Putin and Russia didn't even want to replace Zelensky.
No,
like Putin's demands, and the West is slowly learning this. Their demands in the beginning was extremely tame. Then Zelensky was like, "Hey, you guys got to return Crimea. We're not going to stop until we join NATO. We will never demilitarize." And then Russia was like, "All right, this motherfucker got to go, bro."
Yep.
There's no other way around it. I'll only play a little more. We don't have to continue more of this. I just want to play Chris Murphy. He's a senator. He's someone worth paying attention to. You know what I mean? He has power. He's the guy that speaks on foreign policy. You guys know everyone has their role in the Democratic Party. AOC is there to sheep her young people into the party. Then there are people who they have a lot of faith in to be spokespeople for the empire. I see, as a propaganda watcher, I see Chris Murphy all the time. You know what I mean? Like, that's his job. His job is to sell war. The same way Jasmine Crockett, her job is to sound ghetto. It may be a Democrat appealing to black women, I guess. Her job is to be a fucking annoying hood rat that make me. Anyway, I don't want to.
I love her though, so I'm not going to say a bad thing about Jasmine.
She's glorious. She is such a mess. She is such a mess. But anyway, let's continue this.
Isn't at the table. You can't sign a peace agreement if Zelensky isn't there. And so there's not going to be any breakthrough. And my worry is that, well, the photo op in and of itself essentially legitimizes war crimes, telegraphs to other autocrats or evil men around the world that they can get away with murdering civilians and still get a photo op with the president of the United States. It could get worse because if there is no agreement, if Putin thumbs his nose at Trump, and then Trump does not follow through with more weapons for Ukraine or with any sanctions, then it's essentially the final green light to Putin that he is going to be able to persecute this war.
What's your solution? Let's put up.
I just want to hear his response to this question. I'll move on. I think he asked about it. It shows how incoherent his worldview is. I'll play one more part and I'll move on.
Things that the Europeans and the president agreed on and involve Ukraine in future discussions, establish ceasefire before peace talks, no discussion of land swaps, insist on security guarantees for Ukraine, and ramp up economic pressure on Russia if necessary.
Now, this is why I did my stream yesterday, because and you was on the same page as me. That's why I asked you that question earlier to see where you were coming from. Because to me, it seems like Trump was obviously going through a WWE style storyline. Yeah. I have friends who love professional wrestling. It's kind of fun to watch. I know it work when I see one. I grew up during the Attitude Era, motherfucker. I know a fake ass storyline when I see one. And to me, I've seen the setup from the very beginning, where Trump like, all right, let's have this meeting with Putin. And if Putin doesn't come with a peace agreement, there will be harsh consequences for Russia. That's what he said. He said, if Putin doesn't agree to our term, there'll be harsh consequences for Russia. Then, of course, here comes the EU. Here comes Zelensky. You can't meet with Putin without conceding to our demands. Then Trump meet with the EU. They come up with this list of demands. And then Trump says, we're going to have concessions from Putin. Why would Putin give you any of these delusional concessions? You guys see how Trump is setting this up to fail? So then when Putin said no to this kind of stuff, then Trump would turn around and say, hey, man, I try to be rational. I just wanted a little bit of security guarantees. You know, the day you started this war in the first place. Oh, we just wanted a little bit of NATO in Ukraine. Come on, why you tripping? Why you tripping? Like, this is the point, is to sell the war to MAGA. That's what was always my thesis. And when I saw these demands come out, to me, it was clear. I haven't seen the press conference, so it's going to be like, wow, to see what Putin's response to these talks are. But to me, my reaction has been, I don't understand why these talks are even happening. It seems like Trump is being played by Putin again. Because to me, this makes Russia, and it shows the world how the United States are not good faith actors.
They're not.
On the stage. Because obviously no one in the West, in the mainstream West, is going to accept my analysis or accept the Russian analysis. But once again, Putin is not appealing to Americans. He appealing to the global majority. You think they're not watching this in China? You think they're not watching what's going on in India?
Exactly.
They're seeing these ridiculous fucking demands that are being laid out by Zelensky. And they're like, okay, the fuck? This nigga's not reasonable. Excuse my French, but Sarah, you have any reaction to these demands?
Exactly that. And I'm getting the vibe that the reason why the Russians participated in this at all and like really went all out was because they knew the Americans were going to look foolish and poor.
Yeah.
And they do. We look broke, poor, we're stupid. Our journalists are screaming at Putin like ridiculous. We look horrible. And this is so, and you're so right to talk about the delusion, because this guy's saying like we're legitimizing Putin. No, we just delegitimized ourselves even further. And you were right to say, don't you think China's watching this? And even Japan, who is our historic ally, more like our historic benefactor, but still is probably like, oof, like, oh God, like what are these people doing? Like it just, the whole thing was shameful.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that right after this. I'm sorry.
Okay, this is what they agreed on, right? Everybody, our viewers, I want you to keep this in mind, this chart, when we go and talk about what they got.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go in this order just for the people who haven't been following the whole time. I wanted to show you guys the liberal freak out. We're gonna get to the actual reporter questioning Putin. That will be next. I just want to see what his reaction to this question is. After this, we will move on to one more quick propaganda report. I had to be very selective in which one I'll show you, because I see some shit from Mark Levin that was crazy, bro. I was all over propaganda this morning. I was doing a lot of research for Hotspot as well. I'm like, bro, dude, I didn't know which one I want to pick. I'll pick this one because they had Sander and Morning Joe. I'm going to show you guys Michael Mifal, the former Russian ambassador, and one of the most batshit crazy Putin derangement center people in the world. If it was up to Michael Mifal, we would be in World War III right now. Like, he thought Joe Biden was too much of a pussy. That's how crazy Michael Mifal is. But let's play his response to this, and then we'll move on.
Agreed on and involve Ukraine in future discussions. Establish ceasefire before peace talks. No discussion of land swaps. Insist on security guarantees for Ukraine, and ramp up economic pressure on Russia if no agreement is reached. Let's look at those 5. If those 5 European points are followed. And we understand that's a big if, so there's no need to even waste time talking about how that won't happen. But let's just, for argument's sake, let's say those 5 things happen. What is a just peace for Ukraine in your eyes? What does the final deal
look like? Come on,
big
brain. You got it.
Okay, but Joe, we realize that there's one really important point missing from that list that Trump wouldn't agree on, and that's additional weapons for Ukraine.
Okay. How's additional weapons to Ukraine? Even Joe's like, what the fuck are you talking about? How is that going to change anything? We fucking sent the entirety of Europe's stockpiles. Germany and many European countries demilitarized themselves.
Literally.
So when you talk, how does more even more Joe like, bro, that's some amateur propaganda there, bro. Don't you know that we're the big stages, nigga? We're the fucking big stages, bro. You gotta do better propaganda than that. Let's see how I continue this out.
Trump wouldn't agree on, and that's additional weapons for Ukraine. If the United States is not willing to continue to supply Ukraine, then there's no way that there is any just peace.
Well, again, we'll be talking about in the coming weeks and months about that, because actually they're saying that we will sell to Europe and then Europe will sell to Ukraine. I suspect there's going to be a shell game involved there. But again, let's say I agree with you. 100%. The United States should continue supplying weapons because that's the only thing that will put pressure on Vladimir Putin.
I ended there. You guys see how the only job of these people is to sell weapons? Who funds Morning Joe?
Chris Murphy. Chris Murphy's a weapons guy.
Exactly, Sarah. So their job. What is the solution to this complex geopolitical problem? Sell more weapons. That's the solution to everything. We have this complex issue between Israel and Gaza. What should we do? Sell weapons to Israel.
Yep, more
Send weapons to Taiwan. So we respect the one China policy, which is the foundation of diplomacy between the United States and China. No, send Taiwan weapons. Our job is to sell weapons. We are weapon salesmen manufacturing as statesmen. Like Joe Scarborough is a weapon salesman. I sell cars. I know a salesman when I see it. Mm-hmm. The same way I would sell a fucking Honda. That's what Joe Scarborough is doing, selling weapons. But anyway, let's move on. I'm down kind of belaboring the point here. One more point. It's only a 2-minute video. And I want you to help me debunk it. I had to be, as I mentioned before, I had to be very selective on who I choose because of time. And I of course, had to choose Michael McFaul. I saw you guys highlight this on DDG. Make sure you guys follow our friends at DDG. They're killing the game. So Michael McFaul, that almost threw me off. That's funny. So shares his wisdom on how the talks between Trump and Putin might develop. And as you hear this guy think, remember, this guy was the ambassador to Russia, bro. The U.S. ambassador to Russia.
Well, first, to be prepared, he's been doing this for 25 years, right? He started with President Clinton, so he's had many, many meetings, a lot more experience at doing these kind of meetings than President Trump. Second, there's an asymmetry of knowledge and an asymmetry of interest. Ukraine, for him, is the most central foreign policy issue. I would say it's the most central issue of his presidency. That's not true for President Trump. He's got a lot of other things going on.
So the question you should ask yourself is, why should Americans care so much about this conflict instead of investing money back at home? So the question that I've been asking people like Ro Khanna and the people who support this proxy war is, why should Americans care about the territorial integrity of the Donbass region? Like, literally. Do you want your son to be drafted in war because you want Ukraine to be part of NATO? And the reason I'm making this point is because Michael McFaul and neocons don't even realize the point they just made shows why their obsession over the Ukraine proxy war is absurd. He said, well, Trump, we don't really have that much at stake compared to Russia, because Russia has a lot at stake, because Ukraine, that same area, is the same area that Napoleon used to invade. That's how the Nazis used to invade. They have a historical trauma, and they have legitimate reasons to view Ukraine as a security concern. So, of course, Russia will be more invested because that's their sphere of influence. And any superpower, any legitimate country will be concerned about what's going on in their sphere of influence. Just like I told Ro Khanna, if there was a fucking formation of Nazis in Mexico that was murdering Americans, I'd be down with fucking stuffing them out too. I'm a fucking communist. We love killing Nazis. That's what we fucking do. Anyway, let's continue. Let's listen to Michael McFaul.
And third, he is very effective as a communicator. He knows his facts. He knows his version of history. He may go back 300 or 400 years, by the way, and talking to the president to try to explain to him why Ukraine is really part of Russia, why Ukrainians are really just Russians with accents, and the mistakes that were made by other leaders that divided those countries. He's wrong about those facts.
This is why I want to show you guys this clip. You guys see how insane these people are? They are trying to separate the long-time historical ties between the Russian and Ukrainian people. And Michael McFaul said it's dangerous to talk to Putin because Putin knows all about the history. Like, he got this false version of history. As if you believe will you believe American and the Western propaganda infrastructure over Russision leaders when it comes to Russian history? So of course he knows the history of Russia. And if you know the history of Russia and Ukraine, you know they got long-standing generational ties. You want to know how I know this? Oh no, I got a friend called Zoya. Zoya is love. Zoya is life. Who was born in the Soviet Union in Odessa. Am I getting that right, Zoya?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Shit. Before this manufactured separation between Ukrainian and Russian in the Russian state, you had Ukrainian and Russian families that would cross the border and had extremely close ties. The same with the Donbass region, the same with Luhansk, where you have a large amount of ethnic Russians. They have family members that go back between the countries all the time. And I know it's because of my friend Zoya. So I don't want to belabor the point too much, but the point I'm making, you guys see how Michael McFaul is trying to separate, and the goal of the West is to separate the long-standing, important cultural ties between the Russian-Ukrainian people. There's a fighter in the UFC. I don't know if he fights anymore. I'm a fucking old head. His name was Nikita Krivlov. He's a Ukrainian fighter, and he refused to fly the Ukrainian flag after the Ukrainian military operation. And I remember at the time, there were people in the MMA media apparatus, because this is my MMA world, right? People were like, why is Nikita Krivlov Ukrainian, but he flying the Russian flag? Because he's one of those ethnic Russian Ukrainians I'm talking about, the people who voted for the referendum to leave the fascist Ukrainian state. All right, I need to shut up. I'm sounding like Putin now. Going to the fucking history lesson. The point is, they want to erase the fact that the fascist Ukrainian government was shelling the Donbass, was implementing fascism to suppress the Russian ethnic people. Sorry, Sarah, I thought you nodded all the time. I'm fucking.
No, I know. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm gonna continue the clip because I want to get to this last. I'll play the last part in full, and then we get to the press conference. I just want to highlight how they always do this disgusting historical revisionism.
I want to be clear about that. It's his own history, but he can be persuasive in talking about them, and that makes.
Oh, he can be persuasive about talking about his history? Maybe because it's his fucking history. He's upset that he's not allowed to rewrite the history of a people he hates.
Some a very difficult, I would say, a challenging interlocutor. His first meeting when he was prime minister in 2009 with President Obama, I was there. He went for 58 minutes without an interruption. And I remember it because I was the note taker and I had to record when the president of...
Dude, this psychopath was... I think he's Obama, the Russian ambassador. He was taking notes. This is the guy that Obama allowed to get close and make all-star Russia. This batshit crazy neocon.
The United States finally spoke. He's got a lot to say. He likes to talk in historical terms. He has a big grievance thing, a big chip on his shoulder. All the mistakes that the West made that made them worse off. And he will also be very persistent. He won't give and take. He has no reason to in any way acquiesce to any of Trump's demands in this meeting. He's already won by the fact that he's meeting with the most powerful person in the world in the United States of America. That is already a victory for him. And therefore, I think he'll be in this meeting tragically in a very tough negotiating position.
One thing that's funny to me when I enter this clip is, you know how Michael before, like, man, Putin, he has this amazing graph of history, and he can talk forever about these conflicts and issues. He can talk about these issues for hours on end. You want to know who else can talk about issues for hours on end? Yours truly. I do it every fucking day. You guys see how he paints it as some amazing achievement? Because you want to know who can't do that?
He can't.
Kamala Harris. Joe Biden. Imagine Kamala Harris having a conversation about the history of imperialism and how the history of United States wars impacts her current view on foreign policy. Do you guys think Kamala Harris can do this? Imagine Nancy Pelosi having a sit down about the Donbass region and why the United States should be so. They cannot do this. The United States leaders, the difference between an American leader and Putin is as wide as the ocean is. Like, Biden can't even hold a sentence. We got Sarah Palin's. That was Zoya's thing. We got Sarah Palin's. We have the absolute dumbest politicians who are just like people like Jamal Bowman. Keep picking on him. He didn't even know what the Donbass was. He didn't know what the Crimea was. But so when these people see Russia and Putin, someone who's actually an intellectual who knows his history,
he's a threat.
He's a threat. He's dangerous.